So, if you've tried many, many things over the years to fix your relationship with food and your weight and nothing has worked, then this week's episode, Joyful Eating episode, is for you. So, tune into this inspirational conversation I had with Judith, where she shares how she went from having a dysfunctional relationship with food for as long as she can remember. So, feeling fat even when she was a very little girl and always having self shame around weight and eating, and how she went from that to creating a healthy relationship with food and her body, where food and weight are no longer at the central focus of her mind. And how she did this even during a time when she had a lot going on in her life. Oh, and she also slowly and steadily dropped a big chunk of weight in the process.
Okay, so welcome, Judith. So cast your mind back to before you started working with me. Like, what was your relationship with food and your body like back then?
Ooh. Well, I'm 57, so I've had a long relationship with food, and it's been dysfunctional as far back as I can remember being really little and feeling fat. Now I can look at pictures of myself, and I was like the little dainty thing, but I remember feeling fat as a little girl and like
Wow.
comparing my arms to my friends' arms, and yeah, um, and I believe that I come from generations of, you know, issues with food. So
Right.
yeah,
Wow. So you have wow, right. So it started a
yeah,
long time ago.
yeah. So I've had, yeah, I've always had issues. Um, I've always used food. Well, I think I was probably taught to use food as self-soothing, you know. Um, and like a lot of people, when I was young, it worked, you know. I was upset, I cried, I ate something nice, you know, and got attention at the same time, and it it soothed or healed whatever it was I was feeling. But then as you get older, it gets a bit more complicated. So
Yeah.
by the time I was probably in like, I think a preteen, I was already, you know, had the association of eating being kind of disgusting, and a lot of, you know, self-shame about feeling overweight, even if I was underweight. And it's been something that's been with me always. You know, food, eating, not eating, what I weigh, how I look to other people, whether I'm too heavy to go outside. All of that stuff has always been the central focus of my mind, always. So,
Wow. Wow. Okay. And so what tipped you over from thinking about joining the Naturally Healthy Club to actually deciding to work with me?
well, I trying to think. I've been following your recipes since I first found stone soup, because I was looking for simple recipes, and I love the 5 or 6 ingredient pieces you used to do, and that was great. And so I was aware of you, and then I think probably for two a year, or maybe even 2 years, I was getting the mailings about the Naturally Healthy Club. And I think once I signed up that I might be interested, but then didn't take it any further. But it was sort of in the back of my mind. Now you have to bear in mind, I've done many, 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 many things over the years to try and fix, you know, what's been going on with me. But I think last summer, I just got to a place where I felt like I had to do something for me, and I had to do something now, and it had to be something that wasn't dieting. And so that's why I reached out
Right. So
to you.
you got to a point where you knew that dieting wasn't going to work. Because
I've known for
you
quite a
had tried
while.
them all.
I've known for quite a while that dieting was not working, because I've always been dieting. It's, you know, feast or famine. So yeah, so I realized I needed to do something else.
Yeah, great, great. And you also you were ready to like do something for yourself as well. Like it was seeing it as like a self-care thing.
Absolutely. Yeah, I had a lot going on, and it was really important to me to carve out some time during the week that was specifically for me, about me.
Yeah, right. So even though you had other things, like a lot of things going on, you could see that actually this is going to be really beneficial if I add this in, because it's interesting because most people when they're in it, like they've got a lot going on, that's when they think, oh, it's not the right time for me to do it to make any changes on me. But you could actually see that actually because I've got so much stuff going on in like other parts of my life, actually it will be helpful, really beneficial for me to have something that I'm working on that is just for me. Yeah, I love that you
Yeah,
did that, Judith. Like that's amazing. Yeah,
thank you.
yeah. And actually, can you just share some of the diets that you like?
Well,
Wasn't
I
there
think
like
I've
a honey and cayenne pepper
no, that's
one?
it was maple syrup.
Sorry,
It's
yeah,
the
maple syrup.
lemonade diet, which is cayenne pepper, water, lemon juice, and maple syrup. And yeah, you just sip that for I think a minimum of 10 days. Of course, you lose weight, but yeah, then the minute you introduce food, obviously it comes back. What other wacky ones have I done? Oh, the trolley dolly diet, which
Oh,
was sold to me as being something that air hostesses do when they want to lose weight quickly. And somebody told me about that when I was, I think, 18, and it's only a 4-day diet, but I used to do that intermittently.
so
I've
what
tried.
are the details of the trolley dolly diet? Like, so
It's
you only eat off like little plates
no,
that
no, no,
have
no.
got
Trolley
compartments.
dolly is I suppose a derogatory name
Yeah,
for
but airline hostess, yeah.
airline hostesses. So shouldn't call it that, but it was a 4-day diet, and it was basically protein, not even lean protein. I mean, because I think one of the meals is like mincemeat and canned tomatoes is one meal,
All right.
um, and eggs and green beans. So sort of um, a mix up of all the diet books from the 1960s, 70s, and 80s, all into four
So,
very fast days. Oh, boiled eggs, 2 boiled eggs and green beans. Yeah.
right. So it's very specific, right, for 4 days, right?
Very, very specific for 4 days. Yes. Yeah. No
Right,
seasoning, no anything. So
right.
a sort of, yeah, like a sort of a mini um high protein, no grains at all. So
Of
it's
course. Well,
yeah, of
you
course.
wouldn't be having any grains.
No, 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 no. I've tried just not eating. I've done juice fasts. What else have I done? I tried vegan food for several months because I live with a vegan. I just gained weight because I ate a lot of carbs. Um, I've tried extreme exercise. I've tried DBT. I went to 2 Weight Watchers meetings. And that was a big thing about joining your program, is that all my, oh, and I've also tried a lot of diet drugs. So yeah, I've done, from the internet or from doctors, I've tried everything.
Yeah,
So,
wow.
but I've never really done anything as part of a group. I think probably because of, shame, um, and being private about it. So this was a really big thing for me, having to, be with other people doing this and accountable to other people.
Right. Okay. And so was that something that you were worried you had a concern about before you
Yes,
joined? Yeah.
yeah, yes. And I still do. I still do. I mean, I'm not very, I mean, I find it very difficult to be part of circle.
In the
Um,
group, yeah.
and sometimes on the Monday meetings, I find it kind of difficult to value what I'm saying as much as what other people are saying, I think.
Right. Right. But do you feel like that's like has that been a barrier for you being able to make the changes that you wanted to change?
Um, I think the barrier for me was thinking that I had to do the program perfectly. Like I had to be at all the meetings. I had to do all of the challenges. I had to put everything in place at exactly the right time. That was the biggest challenge for me because my eating has always been about perfection. It's always been about a perfect day. So a perfect day would be, zero food, I guess. And then an imperfect day would be breaking the plan.
Eating some food. Yeah.
Right. So it's the same thing about everything. So I had a really hard time with realizing, that I'd missed a Zoom meeting or, that I hadn't weighed or I hadn't, put in a tiny win or just I wasn't being present. So I think the biggest thing I've learned over the last, I guess, almost a year is that I can do it imperfectly, but I can still do it. So that's something you definitely have taught me.
Amazing, amazing. So food doesn't have to be perfect, and that it's okay to eat food. Amazing,
It's okay
Judith.
to eat food, but it's also okay to, just be messy, I
Be
think.
messy. Yeah,
Messy
yeah,
feelings, messy everything. Yeah, because life is.
yeah, yeah. Oh my goodness, that's such a great thing to learn. Hey, and so like you had concerns about working in a group. Was there anything else you were worried about before we started working together, Judith?
I was worried about, what kind of people would be in the group. Um, I was worried about whether I would be able to relate to other people, whether I would feel, would I feel jealous about people? Would people be, doing better than me?
Oh, the comparison piece.
Yeah. And then I was worried because it's been such a tumultuous time. I was worried that I would not be able to keep the commitment. And of course, my biggest worry was about failure because I felt like every time I try to do something, every time I lose weight, I self-sabotage. So that was my biggest concern, was that it wouldn't work.
Yes, right. And so, Judith, has it worked? Tell me.
Yes, it definitely has worked. It definitely has worked. I have lost quite a substantial amount of weight so slowly in such tiny, tiny increments that it was really hard to believe it was happening. The biggest breakthrough I've had is that I really haven't dieted, but I haven't binged and I haven't starved. So that's been huge for me. It's definitely something in my mind has shifted. And I was always aware that, my issue with food was not a physical issue. It was always
It's for
something.
all of
Yeah.
us, it's always, yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I've always known that. I just couldn't, I could, I've always known all the right things to do. I'm so educated about dieting,
Yeah, of
but
course.
putting it into practice. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah. So I think it was, yeah, it's definitely worked. I've completed the first 6 month program and decided that I needed more accountability, which is why I've been doing the
Continuing.
continuing program. And actually, this time around, I found it more difficult than last time because I've been less connected, because I haven't, I've missed many meetings. So it's been more difficult. But, whenever I've reached out to you and you've said, well, just maintain or do this. So I have been keeping up with, part of it. And that so far has been enough. So my weight has been stable for, a while now.
Great, great. And so what do you think's been the biggest transformation, Judith? So you like, yes, the weight's changed.
The realization that I can be messy is huge. And So, if my brain is the size of I don't know, a grapefruit, and, food and eating and body issues were, the size of a large orange in the middle
Of the grapefruit.
Grapefruit, it's now a smaller orange to the side of my brain. It's still there, but it's not central to every waking and sometimes sleeping thought.
Right.
It shifted the emphasis away from food.
Right. Amazing. Amazing. So it's like you've been able to change inside the thoughts that you're having about food have gone from being like the front and center to you've actually able to process other things as well.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. And what else are you noticing that's different, Judith?
So I'm starting to feel differently about myself, the way I appear in the world, which I haven't felt for a long time. The biggest challenge for me at the beginning, or was it September we started?
September, yeah.
The biggest challenge for me was having my camera on during the Zoom sessions. And I was really quite religious about it at first, because I couldn't bear to look at myself. I mean, now I'm looking at you, I'm not looking at myself. I've always learned to, if I'm putting on makeup, you just see that one eye,
Right.
then you just see your lip, put your contact lens in without looking in the mirror. So that was very, very hard for me. And now I'm starting to relax. I'm not sure if it would be actual body dysmorphia or just a lot of the self-disgust has gone away.
Right. So you're feeling a little bit more neutral about yourself.
A lot more neutral and a lot more kind to myself. So, I can have a bad day. I can have, when I say bad, I'm not meant to use that word bad, but I can have a day where I overeat, or I eat food that, has no nutritional value, or I can go into an old habit and self-soothe or punish with food, and I can forgive myself for doing it quite quickly. So I'm not falling off perfection into failure and then staying on the failure path. I'm actually switching back.
Right. So you have the ability to coach yourself and go, hang on, this isn't, it doesn't mean it's all gloom and doom.
Right.
I can choose again. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm not in food jail.
I'm not in food jail. Amazing. Judith is free from food jail. Yeah, I love that metaphor. Yeah, that's so great, Judith. Like to be able to do it messy. And how are you feeling about like the enjoyment piece, like actually giving yourself permission to eat things that you enjoy?
That's been great. I did know the principles of DBT and, really being in the moment around food and everything else before. But I think with all of these ideas, it's really about repetition, repetition, repetition. So knowing something and actually putting it into practice is very different. So
Yeah.
yeah,
But do you feel like
I've
now that
definitely
you've had some experience of putting that into practice of actually being present and in slowing down and enjoying the food? Yeah.
yes, yes. And
Yeah.
then the other thing, it's also it definitely made me aware that my portions were getting bigger and that I felt like I had to finish everything that I made, and or everything that was put on my plate. And that I have actually been a lot more thoughtful about that. How hungry am I? How much of this do I want? I can definitely go back to the other side of the plate or back to the kitchen if I need to. So that's been big.
Right.
That's
So
been
that
a big,
actually tuning into your own hunger levels rather than like, okay, what was on the trolley dolly plan for today? Like, yeah.
right.
And like actually tuning into your body. That's amazing,
Yes.
Judith. Like to think like that you've been able to do that, like so good. Yeah. And when you think about the future and your future relationship with food now, Judith, like having been through this journey that you've been on over the last year, like how do you feel about the future?
Hopeful, but also scared.
Right.
But hopeful, but yeah, hopeful, but obviously I do worry that, I will kind of
Revert back
drop.
to old habits.
Yeah, you know, um, but I'm determined to keep up with my daily practice. I'm now on day, I think, 285
Amazing.
of daily practice, and I'm still weighing. Um, so that has also been a big breakthrough for me because I've weighed consistently in the past, but it's always been quite traumatic. And so I'd stopped doing that. And now I'm doing it at your suggestion, and am seeing the number as data, and I am able to find a relationship between my weight in the morning and what happened to me the day before. So, you know, not how much I ate, but what time I ate, if I had dinner late, or if I'm not feeling well, all kinds of things. So it's been really informative.
Right. And so you're actually, yeah, you've been able to have that separation of like, actually, it is just information. It's not a
Yeah,
reflection of me as a person.
right. And the fact
Yeah.
that there's a delay. So, before I would be, upset because I'd be like, I haven't, I've hardly eaten anything for 3 days and I've done 50,000 steps and it's not showing anything on the scale. So now I'm able to tell myself, yes, but it will. Because look, you look back, October the 29th, you also felt really, disheartened. And then 2 weeks later, it happened. So yeah,
Amazing. So now you have that that experience of like, actually, I can just, I don't need to get disheartened, just keep going. Yeah. And so you're not using the number on the scale to motivate you. You're just focusing on what feels good, knowing
yeah.
that, yeah, you'll get there. Yeah. So good, Judith. So good. Um, and was there
Well,
anything
I have you to thank
oh,
for it.
tell me?
I have you to thank for it.
No, you're the one that's done the work, that showed up for yourself. And even like, and I love that you've done it at a time where things are like, you've had a lot going on in your life, so that like now you know that like whatever comes up in the future, like you'll be able to still take care of yourself. Like it's so powerful. So was there anything that surprised you about being in the Naturally Healthy Club, Judith?
Um, that I was able to relate to so many people's stories and experiences. And that's really nice because we're all over the world. Um, and that things that I probably would have rolled my eyes about actually do help, and that I am able to, be part of um, a group, but I don't have to be at its center, and I I can be part of something and accountable to something, but imperfectly. That's been I've definitely learned a lot about myself. I didn't realize that my you know struggle for perfection was just so, taking over, ruining my life.
Right. Right. And
Yeah.
wow. And so it's great that like, so you went from being like you were concerned about the group to actually finding that that's like having that interaction with people on in a way that felt good to you was actually beneficial to see other people's struggles.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. And also to like, that's huge too, to learn about like the perfectionism piece. And like, yes, of course, learn in this context, we're learning about how it plays out in food and your relationship with your body. But then you can also extrapolate that out to other areas of life as well. Hey. Yeah. Yeah. So good, Judith. um, okay. And was there oh yeah. So who would you recommend the Naturally Healthy Club to, Judith?
Um, I would say it probably could help anybody, but I think it's particularly good for people like myself who've been struggling in different ways and have become disillusioned with their struggle. I think if I had come across your program, in my 20s, it probably wouldn't, I mean, it would have saved me a lot of time and heartache. um, but it may not have spoken to me as deeply, because I think it's hard for anybody, as it was hard for me, to realize that, you don't need to diet, that dieting is what put me here.
Yes,
Put me
that's the part, that's part of the
danger in the
problem.
first place. Yes, the regimented eating, the overeating and the undereating, the damage that it can do, the um, the eating disorder, and that it just takes a very small shift, but a huge shift in mindset in order to get away from dieting. Because I definitely struggled with that doing the program for quite a while. That I felt like I was eating too much. And that was why weight dropping off. And um, that there were, it took time for me to realize what you were saying about there are no bad foods. Is once I took that on board, it really helped. So I would say that it would help anybody, but especially people who've dieted and lost weight, gained weight, lost weight, gained weight, and got caught up in the diet industry, maybe.
Yeah, right, right. But so that's interesting you say that, Judith. So actually, you can see that having gone through that struggle actually has been, in some ways, it's set you up to be in a better position now to both to receive this message and to apply these lessons. Whereas if you hadn't been through that struggle, you may have always been thinking, oh, maybe I should be doing it. Maybe there's a diet over there that I should be, that would be better. Like,
I think so. I mean, I think even for people who are sort of doing a program with a doctor or taking medication, I think it's so important to change your mindset and the way you see food, that I think for those people especially, it would also be really good,
yeah,
because it's I think it would work together with other programs and not just instead of.
yeah, yeah. And we actually there are a couple of people that are doing that they're taking meds for weight loss and also doing Naturally Healthy Club to change their mindset as well. And it's a really powerful combination. So it's like the meds help with your biochemistry, but they don't help with your thoughts around food and how you're approaching food. So Yeah, I'm glad that you can see that that would be, yeah, that would be helpful. Amazing. Great, Judith. So is there anything else you wanted to mention before we wrap up?
No, just thank you very much. And yeah, I will try and attend more meetings.
No, you're doing really well with that, Judith. Like it's all good. Okay. Well, thanks, Judith. I appreciate you taking the time to come and have a chat.
Well, thank you.
So, if you'd like to be like Judith, where food isn't the central focus of your mind anymore, then I'd love you to join me in the Naturally Healthy Club. So, it's my 6 month coaching group, which gives you a simple, personalized, doable process to change your relationship with food and your body so you feel in control of what you eat without restricting, and you feel good in your clothes, and also so you free up that brain space so food and weight isn't at the forefront of your mind anymore. Um, so if that sounding good, applications are actually open at the moment for 4 days only this week. So, and I usually sell out. So make sure you get your application in ASAP. But if you're listening to this in the future, after this episode's first published, then you'll need to get on the wait list. But for either of those, just the link to go to is SMP. So SM for Mary, P for Peter, .to/NHC, or if you prefer to just click on a link, check out the link in the show notes. But yeah, the Naturally Healthy Club is really fun. And like, if Judith can change her relationship with food so radically, I know it's possible for you too. So I would love to welcome you in. Okay, talk soon.